All right, so welcome everyone. We are very happy to see you today. And our today's topic will be youth. And we've actually decided that there should be a facilitator for the panel discussion, which also represents youth. And it's going to be Safia from Canada. And she is from URI Youth. And so she's a physical rehabilitation therapist by occupation. And she actually dreams to become a school teacher. And she started her spiritual search in a very young age. And we're very happy that she's part of our iFast family. And so, since all our panelists are real youth, Sarah and Isaac and Samira, and the only exception is Patri, but Patri is, even though he might be a little bit older, but he's much younger in spirit than actually many of our youth. So we will request Safia to take over and present our panelists and facilitate the discussion. Welcome, Safia, and please, floor is yours.
And before Safia starts, let me share technical moments of our forum. We have translation, Russian and Spanish. Thank you, dear Vasubandhu, for helping us with the Spanish translation. And in order to choose your language, you have a button, interpretation, and there you can choose your language, Russian or Spanish. And also I would like to remind you that all sessions are being recorded, and we are using them to share the experience and knowledge from our forum, and we are not going to use it anyhow inappropriate for advertisement or anything else. But if you are not comfortable for your face being recorded, please turn off your camera. Otherwise, we are really happy to see everyone's faces. Thank you. And Sophia, floor is yours. And somehow, Leola, we can hear you. I don't know why, but hopefully it's not another problem on Zoom. Sophia, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I am happy to be here, and thank you, Sagra Maharaj, for presenting me. So today, as you know, our topic is youth, and I want to say I'm very, very grateful and thankful to be here today with you and to animate the little discussion that we're going to have. So I'm very excited to hear everybody's opinions and experiences about the topic. So our first panelist today is actually Sarah Oliver, who is URI Associate Director of Global Programs for Youth Engagement. That's a long name. So Sarah, can you please start by telling us what do you think are the challenges of today's youth, in your opinion?
Thank you, Sophia, and hello, everyone. Greetings of peace. It's wonderful to be here, and I just want to say thank you so much for this incredible forum. It's been lovely to kind of see the snippets over the week and jump into some of them and be part of the rich wisdom that's really come out of these conversations. So thank you. So Sophia, what a question to start us off. That's amazing. The challenges that young people are facing. Well, I will just say that so I, for those of you who don't know, live in Cape Town, South Africa, where for the last 10 years or so, I've been involved in working with young people in the field of interfaith and social justice work. And it's a real privilege each and every day to interact and meet such inspiring young people who are really dedicated to making a change in their communities. And I think there are a couple of challenges, and I'm sure our other panelists will address these as well. But I think, one of the main challenges in relation to spiritual technologies and spiritual places is that young people at the moment are driving radical change around the world. So whether it's in the field of climate justice or inclusion, we're seeing these incredible movements often led by young people. And I think our spiritual and religious communities need to listen and need to wake up to that energy that's coming from young people. As one example, a push for inclusion and representation in religious spaces. I often get told, like, where are all the young people, for instance, in a church context when I'm interacting with religious leaders and that sort of thing. And it's a great question to ask, and I often throw it back. So, like, why do you think young people are maybe moving away from religious spaces, and what are they needing or looking for? And I think what they're looking for is to really be seen and heard, and a kind of safe space. So I always ask, so how are our religious and spiritual spaces creating a safe environment for young people to fully be themselves, and to fully express themselves, and to engage in the learning and growth that our religions and spiritualities offer us. So that's just one, I think, kind of challenge or area that I think the world needs to be paying attention to when we talk about young people, and I'll happily talk more about that, but I'll just leave it at that in answer to that first question, and would love to hear what our other panelists have to say.
Thank you very much for your contribution. It's very interesting how you said about representation. I do agree that sometimes when we see certain, let's say, comedies and all of that, youth is not always as represented, and it's definitely a step forward to bring, let's say, us out in the open there. And yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea. And it's true that right now it's a time of a lot of change and a lot of things that are happening in the world. And it is up to us as young people to deal with it now and later. So it is a very good point that you said. So let's pass the word to our next speaker then, who is Isaac Thomas. And he is a URI Global Council trustee for multi-region, also a coordinator of the 1 Billion Youth for Peace movement by Cosmic Community CC, and an active member of his church. So Isaac, we have seen you throughout the week as a participant in our events, and now today I give you the word to speak, to answer your view on what you think those challenges are today for youth.
Thank you, Sophia, for those kind words of introduction. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible well?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sure, thank you. Yeah, so greetings of peace to each and every one of you. In the Indian culture, we say namaste. In Malayalam, we say namaskaram, which means I bow to you. I bow to the God in you. So I'm honored and privileged to be here with this amazing panel and with this amazing CC, IFIRST CC, which being a Global Council trustee for the multi-region, myself and Samira, we met with the IFIRST team so many times, and along with the wonderful team, we were able to get this 1 week event, 1 week long event, and it's such a we have made a point where we say to the whole URI family that even a new CC can create changes and lead our network and our whole global community. So first of all, thank you so much for the great work IFIRST is doing all around the world, and to each and every amazing member of the IFSCC. Like Sarah mentioned, I also had, a small sessions like in between where I could jump in. I had much other meetings with my work and all, but still I made it to like 2-3 meetings, and the engagement that we had really amazed me. The participants that we had really amazed me. So thank you so much for the support that you're offering to our region as multi-region and the whole URI global. Basically, the question that the role of youth, it has always been a challenge or maybe a topic of discussion in the modern society. For me, youth empowerment does not mean that the young generation, will take over responsibilities at some point of time. That is the common trend that we are facing or that we are having from the past, maybe from the past years, and maybe even during the modern society of the 21st century. In the year 2021, we still have a separate forum for youth, which I feel, is a sense of saying that youth is a specific topic. But I would say, we need best of both worlds. Youth being part of the round table is a challenge that we need to overcome. Like engaging along with the elders in decision making. That is something that the youth of this century, of this generation needs and wants. And if we accept that, if we acknowledge that, we overcome the first and foremost challenge of having specific youth forums, or maybe have in need of having specific youth action areas or action, because healthcare can be a youth action area. Nuclear disarmament or nuclear weapons disarmament can be a youth action area. So I believe addressing that youth is strong these days. There are young leaders who lead the world, will make sure that we overcome this challenge. We are not just tomorrow's generation. We say that the young generation or the students or the teenagers of this this year or maybe this time is tomorrow's generation. But I would say, we are today's generation, and the society rests in our shoulders also. So the fact is that we are together creating this change, where our young voices are not just only heard, but taken into account and then into action. And I am sure that it will empower, others all around the world. And this is something I keep close to my heart, because we need to make this intergenerational acceptance a trend, a common practice. And the best example I would say, myself being 23 years old, with being a part of URI for the past 10 years from the age of 13, where I was brought into URI as a young leader, as a student, as a teenager, and now being a global council, one of the youngest global council trustees, is an example that an intergenerational interfaith organization like URI welcomes and accepts young voices and is a model which can be followed everywhere. So, there are many activities in which, being thinking in a perspective, our model that we say, the global society or the global community, when they feel that the youth are empowered, that the youth has potential to create changes, then we will be accepted. And I believe, these challenges, we face them together, we overcome them together, and that is the global community that we are creating. And like I said, I had the privilege of attending the IDP celebration of United Nations, and where I heard, where I got to interact with the Secretary General, and he emphasized the need, the saying, how much youth plays part in shaping peace together. So I believe, this is a trend that we are creating. Even this sharing that we are having, like I said, we need best of the both worlds. We need safe spaces where youth to come up, to engage, to come out of their boxes, engage with the society, engage with their families, engage with their community. At the same time, intergenerational spaces where, for an example, the Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons CC, where I am a part of, we have eminent panelists, like Bishop Swing, former Soviet Union President Mikhail Gorbachev, US former state secretary. And so that is an intergenerational panel. At the same time, we are having where youth is represented. So when this is a common trend and more youngsters come to this practice, we will overcome these challenges. And I believe that is a great future. There is a great future for the youngsters in this world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. I really liked your point about how like if we as youth actually want to do something, if we get out there and if we make ourselves heard, if we're active, we will be more accepted then, like our voices will be more heard. But it's up to us basically to make ourselves heard. So I really liked that point of yours. So thank you very much. A very inspirational talk. And and next, I would like to say that we just heard basically our youth part of the panel today, talking about the challenges and the voices of youth, the representation. Now we're going to move to our second half of the two other panelists, which are Aram and Patri Prabhu. We're going to hear their voices. So let's start with Aram, please. He is, wait a second, I need to not forget anything. So I'll just here. So he is, we heard him before in our previous event. He told us the story about how he basically sacrificed his business and wealth to go help youth in Armenia. He revolutionized education in Armenia. So very interesting person with an interesting story. Aram, can you please say how you see the challenges of today's youth and youth representation as a person who works so much with youth? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this event, this amazing event, and providing me with the opportunity to talk to these amazing people and share my views and listen to the views of others. This is very enriching and very exciting experience for me. When it comes to our youth, this is probably a unique generation in the whole history of mankind. And it's unique in a sense that this is the first generation that have basically, for its development and its achievements, it doesn't need any support from the previous generation. So it's quite autonomous. And the very traditional system of sharing of wealth, when the young people would expect that their parents should first become wealthy. So if there is a money in a family, then probably first father has to buy a car, then probably a mother has to buy a car, and then probably at some point later in the time, the younger son or their son or their daughter would have something for them, a share of this family wealth. Now it has all changed. In a sense, the young people may even earn more than their parents, and that's happening more and more often. It's more now something normal than something rare. So, especially taking into account that in general, the mankind is living a better life, in a sense. So probably this is the times when, in general, we live much better than in any of the past times. But also the wealth sharing has changed. So the young people voice their interest to participate more actively in the society. They want to be involved in all of different kinds, and Isaac's example is very good. They want from the very young age, they want to be active. They want to, contribute into the society, and they want to get benefits. And not necessarily these benefits are monetary. These benefits are recognition, acceptance. Their ideas getting to the mainstream. Their ideas are pushed forward, and that's very good, because what happened in past like 100 years, the elder people who were in power would borrow from the younger generation. Look, all the countries are in debt. That means the younger generation will be paying that off for their parents to live better life. That's unfair. And the younger people, don't want to take all of the burden of mistakes of their parents in general on their shoulders without being able to participate into that and to see if they can earlier on do things, make things better, so that later on they would not be paying even more debt. So this is very fair in a sense. That's probably the best situation that has ever happened for a long, long time. But there is a danger. In every benefit, there's a danger. Danger is that the wisdom of the life experience might be underappreciated. So the younger generation might start considering the wisdom of the older people an unnecessary thing. And that is quite dangerous. So what we as elder people has to do, the older generation, we have to find new ways of transferring our support, because transferring wisdom is not telling, it's not enforcing, it's not dictating, it's supporting. In a way that these younger people with their attitudes changed would accept. So that takes double wisdom, to not only be wise, but also be able to support the younger people, because we know they need our support. We know things that they don't know, in a way that we don't hurt them. We don't make them feel like they are underappreciated. They don't feel like we are enforcing something on them. So that's a very unique situation where everybody has to learn. And that's amazing, that's exciting. That will change many things, including things in how we kind of practice our faith and how we share our religious views and feelings with other people. And we are living through exciting times, and I'm a believer that this will stay. There'll be no going back. The younger people will become more responsible, more active at a younger age, will be fully participating in the life of the society. As the overall wealth of the humankind grows, as their capacity grows, as the tools that allow for creativity and contribution to the society are becoming more and more available to younger people. So that's probably what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. You raised a very, very interesting point about how wisdom of the life experience is sometimes underappreciated. And I do agree that it's important. That's why I think it's so important to have like these intergenerational events where both all the generations can listen to each other and contribute, because like we can add the wisdom of the older generation and the, let's say, activism and the energy of the younger generation together. What can we create with that? Like, I think that's pretty amazing. So definitely this point of communication between the generation and using the wisdom of the life experience of the older people for us to continue the mission and continue the ideas, to not reinvent the bicycle basically, and use the wisdom is there. So thank you very much for that. And our next speaker is Patri Prabhu. So he was already a star in all of our previous events with his poems and songs and acronyms, poetry, all of that. And he is a community leader, a missionary, a founder of schools and farms and other organization in Nepal, I mean. And he also participated in TED Talks. So Patri Prabhu, can you please give us a TED Talk? No, I'm just kidding. So can you please give us your opinion on the challenges of today for youth? Thank you.
Well, I really would like from my heart to greet everyone who is present with us in this group today. And I'm really much impressed with all of your wonderful points you shared. Really, Isaac, you really said very nice thing that we really have to empower next generation. Ultimately, future is in the hands of young generation nowadays, because they are the flowers of the nations. One thing, also I very much agree with Aram that you said that it is always statement there that we are not inheriting this planet from our forefathers. We are borrowing it from our children. And you very correctly said, our new generations, they don't want to pay the debts of their forefathers, which did for nothing, all this pollution and all this different degradation which they're leaving behind. Unfortunately, we can see practical. So nowadays, we are not just cave monks. We have this statistic, you see. And for the last 30 years, I am traveling all over the world. Before I actually happened to be a journalist, and I meet with many VIP, VVIP, up and down, film stars, ministers, whatever. And guess what? Honestly speaking, somewhere deep down, they're keeping big stone in their heart and they're smiling by force, because they have to. But we need to bring young generation. Like I came from Nepal. I don't want to tell too much, but I tell you, my life is my lecture. You can say my TED talk is my life. What I decided one time, I decided to try just to offer this life for good cause of this world, you see. And of course, I happened to come to Nepal, which I never thought I will be in Nepal. And that time when I came in 2003, it was war, literally national war, and people were dying like anything. And I found that so many problems and young generation suffering the most, because must be some future, bright future and inspiration. And you know what? I noticed in many places and countries I visited, young generations, they're losing enthusiasm in regard of religion and spirituality. In fact, they don't want to do anything with religion, but spirituality becomes kind of more watered down with kind of healing or some mystical processes. And it becomes, whether it's irrelevant for them, they found themselves, it's like old wrinkled tradition, it's old styles, like nothing to do with that, or they lost the trust. You see, especially, I just saw the statistic, millennials who were born from 1981 to 1996, they're actually turning back to religion, and they going far away from religion. So what I found, I want just to tell you, of course, problems are many. I can give you the list. I am a modern monk and I did my homework. I have so many numbers and figures, divorces and suicide rates and stuff. I don't want to make this program too dark. Rather, we can speak about the solution, isn't it? We all know how much degradation going on due to internet and frustration, especially during the COVID-19, like in Nepal itself only for the last 8 months. Can you believe? For the last 8 months, there are nearly 2,000 suicides because among the youth, because they're frustrated, they don't know what's going to happen in future. That's reality. Nice to have the head among the clouds, but we have to keep our legs on the ground. All right? And all of us, we are very responsible people here. I really very much respect everyone. Well, somebody said, well, we are already not young. But believe me, I can tell you, I have seen young people like old, 90 years old. And I've seen very elderly people, they young like children. And it is explained in Bible that only those who are childlike people can enter the kingdom of God. Not childish, but childlike, innocent and humble and open-hearted, you see. And what I would like to share with you, when I came to Nepal or India also, now I like Malayalam, I spend a lot of time in Kerala, by the way, Isaac, like that. So I'm now in Bangalore. So and my hobby to learn the languages, to speak with youth people, you see. And I found 2 things. People, they will remember 2 things in their life, you see, as a tip for everyone. First one, how did they feel when they first time met you? And second one, what did you do for them? What did you do for them? Nowadays, many people, they really looking to bring young generation to their tradition or their spirituality. But let me tell you, I'll give you 5 tips and then I'll share with you one video clip which I did just now. And I uploaded, and I hope we can see a few minutes video clip what we have done, particularly in our area of working with youth. There are 5 people, and as Isaac said, we need to have the leaders. Actually, young generation going to lead this world. Question where? And leaders, there are 5 levels of leadership, which we have to train them. First one, people following you because they have to. A little boring, but what to do? This is the rules. We have to do it because my grandma or grandpa, they told me I have to go to church or synagogue or temple, or, oh yeah, it's too much boring. I have to because it's tradition, right? First level, very low level. Second level is people following you because they love to follow you. You see, they just love to follow you. Third level, I will not open these files, but I'll just briefly mention only. Third level, people following you because they can see what you have done for the tradition. Fourth level, higher than that, people following you because they can see what you have done for them. And the most topmost level is people following you because they see who are you. In Sanskrit, in all this language, there is one statement, Yatya tacharati shrestas tat evitaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lukas tatanavartate. In the ancient language, Sanskrit, it said, Yat yat acharati shrestas. Whatever great people do, everybody will follow. And if all generations, it is also explained that from 20 years to 30 years, one young person has to find some leader, some teacher, someone to follow, really. From 30 to 40, he has to do something on his own, try to do something on his own. From 40 to 50, he has to find out what he is good and in what, and do something which he expert to do, because he has to learn in 20 years something which he is good at. And when he is already 50, he has to come back and support young generation with giving ideas and guidance and showing the example, and to give them trust. Because nowadays people, all young generations, they have X-ray build up inside in their minds. They can X-ray anyone. Action speaks more loudly than words. And I've seen many times when elderly generation speaking something, and they, in the action, greed, anger, and so much attachments and bad habits are there. So that's why it's very, very great responsibility for all of us to come together and show the way out of the box. I really wanted to share with you one book also, which you can do as a homework. It's called Leadership, Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box. Just have a look at it. It's also very nice about the conflict between old generation and young generation. This is also about the interfaith training rehabilitation center, how they treat the children, but actually they have to treat the parents. So that wonderful link, which Aram said, elderly generation has to really leave behind the legacy, so young generation can take responsibility. Please kindly read these 2 books, small books, written by Arbenger Institute of Management. It's not author, but it's Arbenger Institute of Management. It's called Leadership, Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box. And second one is Anatomy of Peace. Anatomy of Peace. So what I really want to share at the end, not to take much of your time, can we show this video clip? Before I'll just do one line introduction. When I came to Nepal and I found that old style, my teacher told me once, if you really want to be in the warmth of love and always want to be in the sunshine, you have to learn how to move along with the sun. We have to be dynamic, everybody. Because if you stay behind and become old-fashioned, then you will become in the shadow because sun is moving. So we can see this conflict. We have to understand and to make nice contact with young generation nowadays, with youth. As I said before, nice means we have to understand their needs, interest, concern, and expectations. So what I have done personally, I encourage and motivated people according to their qualities, and I introduce spirituality in very wonderful manifestation through the drama, through the music, through the dancing, through the festivals, even the rock concerts we did. We opened one academy, it's called Save Nepal, Spiritual Academy for Vedic Education, where all young people, boys and girls, taking part, and we have a wonderful family. And at the end, I would like to show you a few minutes, small clip if you'd like to watch. So it's about what our wonderful youth family, which we have in Nepal. Thank you very much for listening. And who is in remote control place? Who can show this video clip to share the screen?
Wow, very interesting video. Thank you so much, Patri Prabhu, for this video. Very colorful and beautiful and inspiring too. So yeah, thank you very much. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Well, personally myself, I can talk all life, especially with such wonderful people like you. And I'm sure it's not our last talk to share our hearts, but I really would like to share two-way traffic. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, so then let's move to our second question. Well, before that, I would like to highlight very interesting points that you had brought up. And I liked the point of being under the sun. So not too forward, not too to the back, to the left, to the right, always in the middle of what's happening, and really paying attention to that and being in sync with the world, basically. Very and also your acronyms, as always, are very interesting, and your different levels of leadership, very inspiring. So moving on to the second question. So now, and you actually did already predict it, because I was about to ask, what solutions or spiritual technologies would you suggest for dealing with the issues that each of the speakers said right now? So Sarah, can you please start us off with answering this question?
Thank you, Sophia. And well, yeah, what a rich conversation. I just want to say I'm so appreciative of the conversation around intergenerational spaces and intergenerational dialogue that has come up in this as an example, what we're modeling here, but just highlighting how important it is. And I want to just say that for me, in order for intergenerational dialogue to succeed, there needs to be a willingness from everybody involved to recognize that we don't know everything. There needs to be a willingness to learn and a willingness to open ourselves up to new ideas from younger people to older people, and vice versa. That sharing of wisdom, I think, is really important. I've been part of so many conversations where, just as an example, you'll have a group of young people planning an event with a group of older people, and the older generation are too afraid to say anything because they want the younger generation to lead, which is fantastic because you're handing over leadership. But if you're doing it in a way that's not providing the necessary support or structure or encouragement, and you're too afraid to say something because you're going to say the wrong thing, or there are all these dynamics that come into intergenerational spaces that I think are it's more complicated than just saying, great, we all need to be in a room together and have a conversation together. But we really need to internalize and unpack the power dynamics that exist in those spaces, and to recognize from everybody involved a willingness to open our hearts and to admit that we don't know everything, and admit that we are there to learn and to shape whatever it is that we're creating together. So I just, inspired by what the speaker said earlier, I wanted to share that. But coming to the question, and I think it actually speaks to the next question about solutions, because for me it is about how are we creating space for heart-to-heart connection and heart-to-heart conversation, and particularly when it comes to the representation of young people. I just wanted to say, in URI, we're very conscious of creating age equitable spaces. And so not just having young people in positions of leadership for the sake of that leadership, but really honoring the wisdom and the knowledge that young people bring. And so I think there's a difference between having a young person in a position of leadership just for the sake of it, which can be referred to as tokenism, and the solution to that is how are you creating and supporting the structure for that young person to thrive in that position of leadership, and that requires a lot of work and a lot of care as well. So yeah, for me it always comes back to care and heart connections, and because I think from if we are wanting to see a world that is peaceful and that is just and that is that is a space that is healed, or a space of healing. Those are the three words of the URI purpose statement that really stand out for me as how are we creating a world of peace, justice, and healing. And those words hold such significance and importance, because you can't have peace without justice, and you can't have justice without healing. And the role that young people play in all of that is that we are working to create the healing that is needed, healing of intergenerational trauma, healing of wounds in our country, healing of the divides that we see across the world, in order to see a world that is just, to kind of make right the wrongs that have happened, and in order to create peace. So at the heart of that, though, is the dialogue process for me. And I want to just emphasize that the act of dialogue, of being able to really see another person's experience, and hear them and really place yourselves in their shoes, is what's going to help, I think, to transform the world. And it's what in my work here in Cape Town and around the world, about my focus and passion is on bringing young people together from different backgrounds and different communities, to have those encounters, those I almost want to call them divine encounters, when you really just you witness the divine in another person, right? And you witness that experience. And I remember one youth camp that we were running here, and there was a young teenager, or two young teenagers having a conversation, both young men. One was Muslim and the other was Christian, and they were both incredibly strong in their faith. Their religion was incredibly important to them, and they were having a conversation, sharing, why their religion was so important. And it almost felt like they were on kind of polar opposites in terms of wanting to prove their religion was the best. We then shifted the conversation to talking about what it meant to be a young person moving into high school. I mean, they were just entering high school, and all of a sudden the nature of the conversation changed, because there was a point of commonality that they could recognize in each other, because they were both teenagers. They were both entering school for the first time, high school for the first time, and they were both struggling with peer pressure of whether it was things around, alcohol, or the pressure of peers that young people these days are facing. And they were able to connect on that experience. And from there, a deep friendship formed. And I think if we can create more of those friendships, more of those spaces for heart encounters, for dialogue, for connection, that is going to lead to peaceful and just and healed world that we want to create. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I heard like a common theme throughout your speech about that learning mindset, the dialogue, the seeing things that unite us instead of what separates us, because there's so many things different about everybody. We're all different, but we do all have things that unite us. So really liked that point, and it really interesting how it was being seen throughout your speech. So thank you for that. Isaac, what do you think? What spiritual technologies do you see as being solutions for the challenges that we had seen in the first question?
Yeah, just thinking of the expertise that we are sharing here, I believe there's so much, wisdom going on with regards to the different ages and the different contexts that we are speaking from. For me, being a technological person, technology is a word that is very close to me in the sense, my primary profession being a network engineer, which is entirely different from this arena of interfaith, but still I am here. So I meant to say spiritual technology, it triggers something in me to understand, and I was amazed to find how these can be linked, spirituality and technology, the practices, the spiritual practices of how we can actually engage ourselves to share, these wonderful practices that addresses the issues that we face as a global community. So for me, with this specific arena of youth, I would say there are a bunch of spiritual technologies that we can use. First one, I would classify it as two. One is in the interfaith arena, and the second is the global arena. So in the interfaith arena, the first spiritual technology is the understanding the power of content. So, like everything that we say, even Sarah mentioned, to understand each other, to step in to the other person's shoe. And I remember during one of the last meetings, Sagar Swamiji, he shared one of the spiritual practices or technologies mentioning, if you have a quarrel or a feeling of disinterest or maybe disrespect with someone else, there are these 5 words or sentences that you can say. And I read through each sentence, and it really taught me to understand, to step in. It simply says that person is same as me. That person is going through things like I am going through. So this kind of context. So the content of interfaith, especially interreligious, intercultural content, with regards how does the young generation or the coming generation or the present generation interprets this. And basically, when we come to religious aspects, being in URI, being an interfaith, one of the world's largest interfaith organization, we have to understand the different religious perspectives, and especially as a young voice. There is a saying, or there's a common talk, that the young generation is not that much interested in interfaith or religious perspectives or religious practices. And why is that coming? Like how is such a talk coming? Because we are more into technology, or we are more into science? Like there is nothing in science, or maybe there is nothing in technology that we can completely define with respect to religious practice. Everything is interconnected. So once we understand that, right, then that part of spiritual technologies is fundamentally, basic to empower the youth. For an example would be understanding our holy books. Like, I'm a Christian. I understand. I read through my Bible, and with respect to many other religions, do we understand what our holy books teach us? One thing is the mantra. Some examples would be the mantra, "Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu." Right. The most important aspect of that mantra is that the sage does not only pray for his clan or for his religion or his nation, but the whole world. And the principles of Hinduism, where the whole world is considered as a single family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbam. And even the Bible says, behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell with unity. And coming from Quran, where mankind is mentioned as a single nation. And similarly, every religious. When young people understand that these religious concepts or religious perspectives are equal to one another, like respect one another, then that solves the first issue that is in the young generation's mind. That interfaith is something of a conversion platform, or maybe something that we should not be even part of. There's so much other things to do. And another thing is, that does not mean we have to throw away our own individual concepts. Because for me, I'm a Christian. I'm a proud Christian. I'm an Indian. With my language, I'm a Malayali, a Keralite. And basically what URI teaches us is to deepen these roots and then accept and understand others as well. So that is the first spiritual technology, the understanding the content of interfaith and every religious perspectives that we have. The second one is the power of communication, the power of story, and everyday visionaries working together to face the challenges of our times. And that's something, and the best example for that is the URI's Visionaries episode, airing on PBS, and you guys might have seen it, you have heard of it, featuring some of the remarkable stories of URI members all around the world. And this is what we have been doing for the past 20 years. This communication is something very vital. And this spiritual technology of communication is something that we have to develop for all ages, between ages, in ages, so that we understand each other. And the preamble, like Sarah mentioned, the preamble, purpose, and principles of URI, itself is a guideline for the spiritual technology of communication and understanding each other. And finally, let me conclude by the third spiritual technology that I find very interesting and very appropriate, or maybe apt, and very important is the power of community. So it's the 3 C's, the content, communication, and community. The community is like the event that we're having now, the sharing of expertise, the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of wisdom of all generations. That itself is a spiritual technology where young generation sees this as an example and then, becomes empowered, encouraged to engage with all these global issues that we are facing. Being part of URI, I have personally experienced this support to one another across regions, across CCs, across cooperation circles, generations and cultures. The variety of cooperation circles that we have, like including IFEST, and from a group that gathers every month to have a poetry reading or a prayer call, to a group that encourages more youth participation, to a group that initiates actions to save our environment, and then to a group that engages people for the abolishment of nuclear weapons. So all these varieties of communities that we provide as URI, as different interfaith or international organizations, is a kind of a spiritual technology that allows us to coexist and function together for the betterment of the whole world. So once we have such a practice, then it becomes, then it moves between generations, cultures and regions, and my, like, being a young person, or being a part of the young generation, this is something that I envision for the entire world and for the entire global citizen. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Your point about like the 3 C's, I really liked. And also thank you for your example about the different holy books and how you brought examples from different faiths to demonstrate your point. I think it relates to the topic of the whole week and the whole organization about interfaith. So thank you for that. We don't have much time left, but let's finish. So Aram, please, can you tell us about what you think are effective spiritual technologies, practices, solutions for the challenges mentioned before?
Well, I will try to squeeze whatever I want to say in a few words so that we fit into time. What I noticed very often is that again, let's talk about generations, that intergenerational problem, because what we are seeing, as was mentioned before, is that the engagement of the youth with religion is kind of more fragile and less stable, and we don't see many of the young people really involving themselves with generation. While they still search for some spiritual experiences, they are lightweight and not systematic and all that. So what I always noticed is that older people are very often inviting young people into their places, and it's okay for the young people to go to the places of older people, but it's not vice versa. Young people tend to keep their own places for themselves, and very often they organize their own events, their own gatherings, so that there are no other people, there are no older people there. So there is this disconnect, and this disconnect has a reason. Young people are used to the older generation, the more wise people, blaming them for something, not understanding them properly, not playing with them the same game, not feeling not resonating with them, not feeling what they feel at that time. Why is this happening? For me, it's still a secret. I feel myself 25 all the time. So I feel the vibe of young people. I can share with them everything they feel because I'm their age all the time. And I think that the clue is in that we should forget that there is age. When we talk to people, we have to talk to the people in their language, in their faith, in their views, so that we understand each other, at least as much as we can, because that's how we understand each other. And when we deal with young people, we should make sure we are understood. And when we go and talk to them, the ultimate result for me was always when the young people would invite me to their places, to their events, to their gatherings, and then I feel there is a connection, and then I feel I can transfer what I want to say, listen to what they want to say to us, and we speak as equal. I don't enforce anything. I don't tell them I'm wearing, the wisdom of generations, and here is your time to take this wisdom and move forward to the next generation. This is not working anymore. I mean, we really have to talk about what this person, what his soul is getting from what he's going to experience with religion. We should not talk about them being responsible of transferring the whole religion and then, the tradition and everything. That will come later when they understand the value of that. But we very often forget important things and do secondary things, because probably we ourselves are very often, and when I say we, I mean myself, of course, we very often don't, we cut corners. We don't really feel what we say. We don't really experience in the whole what we want now to say to other person. And that's an important point. The young people feel that, they know that. They can see it's not really what, we're not really totally open, and we're not really humble enough. That's something they can feel, and that is, I think, the main reason why the system has gotten so broken. The younger generation now is very sensitive. They learned to sense the world, because the world has become very complicated. They've received tons of information. They've developed their senses to the extent, an amazing extent. They feel other people like this. So it really takes a lot of effort, a lot of openness, a lot of fairness to be able to communicate to this generation. And if we are able to do that, then everything will happen, as it always happened, because our religions, they survived they've not only survived, they flourished for thousands of years. And it's time for us to understand that our role, is not to convince the younger people to understand us. Our role is to become the people of the kind, so that the younger generation will understand us. And I'm saying the same thing over again, but that's the thing. It could be said called technology, but it's not only technology, it's also us. We are part of that technology, and we know that. Any religious technology involves people. And if the right people are in place, behaving properly, then things happen. But of course, the framework is important. The ideas are important. The events are important. The way they are organized is important. All of these things are important. But without the right people in place, without the right mood and right intention, right mind, nothing will happen. That's my conclusion.
Thank you. I had never actually thought about this point that you raised, that actually old people, not old, but older people invite younger people to their events, but never the opposite. That's true. I never, it's such a surprise to me now to hear this, a new realization. So thank you for that. And thank you for your words about understanding and encouragement about becoming the person for other people that other people want to listen to. This is very inspiring. So Patri Prabhu, can you now give your opinion, your thoughts on the matter on spiritual technology solutions that can be used to alleviate the challenges of youth today?
Thank you so much. Actually, I was listening with rapt attention to Aram and also all of you. And it's so resonating with me as well. I really agree with Aram that we have to be open-hearted and to understand how people feel. We have to tune with young generation, those who are a little bit ahead. But I'll share with you only one technology, only one super, and it's working in every nook and corner of this planet. Every religion will use it, every person of any nationality, it will work. You know what the technology is? Just to be happy yourself. You have to be happy. If you're a boring guy, or fellow, nobody going to be attracted to you. In Vedic philosophy, it's called Shakti Parinamavada, transformation of energy. And energy doesn't have anything to do with Muslim, Christian, Hindu, or whatever, Jewish, nothing to do. As a sugar, is sweet for everyone, as a sun shining for everyone. So this energy of love and happiness. In Hindi, they have one saying, Prachar Bhojan Ka Dakkar, means when you're eating up to the neck, and then you're getting some burp, that's your actually coming out. We're distributing overflow. We are distributing overflow, like in tanky, water filled up and then overflow coming out. So similarly, happy person in any tradition, really, he always satisfied. Santushta Sadatam Yogi. He's so happy and he emanating this aura, which like magnet attracts people. Karshati means attracting. And you don't know, people, they just love such a person. In spite of his, doesn't matter who is he, which tradition he is in. He is happy at any time and place because he is satisfied. He practicing spiritual technology. And what is the spiritual technology? Which given in all scriptures. Really. What is that? A, B, C, D. Please kindly take it with you today. I don't want to give you too many acronyms, so otherwise smoke will come. I like these acronyms because it's very easy to carry with you. A, B, C, D means association. Super technology. Man known by his association. Tell me who are your five friends, and actually I'll tell you who are you. Because of the same group blood, people attract, similarity attracts, you see. Association. We have to teach people proper association, especially young generation, not to associate with crazy technology of mobile and electronics and websites and impersonal association. No, association doesn't mean only physical. People associating with all what's surrounding us. Association. We have to choose proper people with universal values like purity, truthfulness, tolerance, etc. B is for the books, holy books. We have to choose our, whatever we are putting inside, what software we are putting from the books we are reading. Holy scriptures, I would suggest so many wonderful, as was spoken, stories, tales, and wisdom. You see, when somebody has a wisdom, people will love to come and hear from him. I have this experience. Nobody can take it from me. I have been in every country practically of the world, and I spoke with different people of different languages. Once you are happy, you can sit under the tree and somehow other people coming to you and we start conversation on the fingers. And really, I'm happy to share this because when you have something to share with people and you are satisfied with life and with connection, spiritual connection yourself. Third one, C, is chanting. Chanting holy names of God, of any tradition. You see, like other day again, I was sharing, we were sitting with one wonderful lady from Sufi's tradition, Karima. So she was chanting her wonderful, prayers. Wonderful, really, surahs from Quran and wonderful. And somebody was chanting different prayers from Bible and from Vedas. It really unites when people chanting together with love, chanting, whatever tradition, and diet. However ironical it may be, but it's very, very much powerful technology, diet, to eat together. Eat together, spiritual food, which offered to God. When we're offering whatever we eat to God on the altar, like from childhood, I remember I used to go to church and, we're offering everything to God. Whatever we have got from God, we have to have grateful heart. As we say, if you're not grateful, you are great fool. So unfortunately nowadays, I was traveling all over many places, and I am not just criticizing people, but please believe me, I've been in Los Angeles and Hollywood studio with all these big film star, Hollywood stars and Bollywood stars in India also. I don't want to mention your names, but they told to me, you know, one very famous actor from Hollywood, he said, I wish to become, that all world should become filthy rich and famous like me, to understand that this is not a solution. This is my message to young generation. Sometimes we're choosing wrong direction, opulence, iPhone, iPod, iTouch, I society, I in the center. But we have to choose different direction and proper association. And when we're eating together, diet, A, B, C, D, diet, spiritual diet, we have to offer everything to God and just call together and have a wonderful picnic, I would say. Spiritual picnic in any tradition. And it's very much unites everyone. Thank you so much. And I wish everyone to remain happy. And that happiness contagious. You know what? That's for smile is such an opulent thing. I have poem about the smile, you know, which I will not read. Maybe I'll read in the group. So smile is such an opulent thing that no rich man cannot live without this. And no poor man will never become, he will become rich by getting that. Nobody can reject that smile. And it's cheap, cost nothing. And we have to learn how to share this. This is the best technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing this technology of being happy. It is the fundamental one. It really resonated with me, your words. So thank you very much. Now, Kishori Rani, please divide us into small groups so we can continue the discussion there.
And I will share with everyone the questions that we are discussing. Give me 1 second, please, and then we'll all go to the groups. So we have the same questions every day, but you're not limited to discuss only those questions. You can discuss whatever you feel like. And please, if someone got to the group with a language that you don't speak, please try to notify somehow me or leave the chat, and I will place you in a different, leave the room and I will place you in a different room. And now I'm pressing the button and we will all go to rooms to discuss. Thank you.
Hi. You can hear me? Hello?
Yes, Irina?
Oh, sorry. I was in a wonderful group with youth through the programs, educational programs, and I think we were lucky to get amazing pieces of wisdom. So as a conclusion, I would add that resonated very much when this one said that we must be happy ourselves when we teach youth to follow us. And I brought up my personal example because I didn't see my parents happy. So I just couldn't understand what they teach me could bring me to happiness. How come if they are unhappy themselves? So it truly resonates, and it's a simple rule. Like if you want someone to follow you, you must be happy. You must live it yourself. Don't just wear the mask. Don't do as I do as I teach. That's an old English expression, and a lot of families, like in the United States, I know they follow that rule, and like 3 generations ago, and now we see that of course that did not work. And another conclusion is when you talk to youth, be genuinely open to their world, what they're interested in, and ask them, try to find already the seeds, because as someone mentioned before, that the youth is very sensitive more than like us as going older, maybe we get getting our shelf thicker and thicker, but youth is truly sensitive, and because the informational field is so rich, is wide open to them, so they can see what happens with the nature, with the planet, with the society. So they already have those seeds and generally ask for their opinion, and just starting to grow from there, bring them from there. And just one-on-one connection, open, being vulnerable in front of them, open up our hearts, will open their hearts. That's the key. So again, not playing, but just being honest and sincere with them, and that will open their sincerity. And I also liked the expression that remember that we don't know everything, and we have something to learn from the younger generations, because they are adaptive even quicker to this world, which changes so fast. So yeah, thank you so much. And
thank you very much. Very interesting point. I really like what we discussed today about happiness, and the fact that people, if they see somebody is happy, they will want to know right away, what is that secret? What made you like this? They will want to know themselves. So I'm passing the word to Alyona. You wanted to say something? Your microphone is off.
Thank you, Sophia. Now you hear me, yeah. I was delegated by my group, and we had a group of very nice, warm-hearted ladies. And I just want to present the summary of our discussion. And what we discussed is maybe we shouldn't necessarily divide people into young and old. We just need to treat people as all as souls and include everybody, not to leave anybody behind. And just share love across all generations and all people, make everybody comfortable within the family, the bigger family, the family that includes like all biological age, but like giving everybody his own place and his own significance, and just like have lots of love. That was the conclusion of our group.
Thank you, thank you. We had a similar discussion in our group too, about how if we look at each person, like just a person who we can learn from, it really creates magic and true dialogue and conversation. Yep. Anna, do you want to continue?
Yes, thank you so much. So from our group, I had a pleasure to be with Marina Zamsharifovna Targakova, and also students from the project called Line. That's the project of one of the branches of Indarai Fast. And our discussion was mostly about what Patri Prabhu said during the panel discussion of experts, how people will follow, young people will follow the ones who are happy. So the ability to be happy and stay happy and find that place for us as adults in this world is very important. And this is also something that will lead the youth to follow. And I was also have to say, I was very impressed by the young people in our group who expressed the desire to follow, who ask the right questions, who have that enthusiasm and desire to be happy, to find their place and to follow the leaders. And it's amazing that there is such a project as Line exists in our world, because it allows leaders, older people, older devotees, or just leaders to be connected with the younger people, and they're being available for them. And it also creates the atmosphere and the culture of acceptance, where younger people are not afraid to ask questions, or not afraid to be different, or not afraid to not know. So it's very touchy. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really happy to hear you had that conversation, especially the fact that I'm part of that organization. So Sagar Swamiji, did you have something to tell us also?
Sure, thank you, Sophia. Actually, I was very fortunate because I was in the same room with very special ladies. Maybe they're not exactly in the youth category, but definitely they are all secretly young, like Marta, who represents URI in UN. She has special UN circle in there, and she wants to invite young leaders to participate in the work. And Isabel and Salet, they're both from South America. And it's really amazing how, you know, we all on the same page, and we're thinking, and not just thinking, but we are all making some effort to facilitate youth, because we want to see our young spiritual leaders, and we have such brilliant personalities like Sarah, Isaac, and everybody else. And of course, they're very, very successful, but there are other budding leaders, and we want to do something for them. And actually, if there are some leaders, budding leaders who need support, who need training, who need contacts and everything else, then we have special training school, which is called IDEAL, which stands for Innovative Development, Empowering Authentic Leaders. And so we want, you know, them to use spirituality and create their own businesses, or, you know, make their own career to become successful both materially and spiritually. And so we're trying to provide youth with everything for their success. And so if there are anyone, if there is anyone who needs, who would be interested, they can all contact me. Thank you.
So thank you very much for these words. Really interesting, this organization that you have. I didn't know actually about it. So nice to find out. And does anybody else want to add a word and say what they discussed in your small groups?
I encourage maybe Salika, Das can share from our group. I'm very impressed by your experience working with young people and what you shared about listening. If you can share, it would be nice too.
Yes, please share.
Sorry for calling you out, but it's also my job. Salika, can you share, please?
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, in my group, I had a very wonderful set of friends, brothers, and sisters we had there. Basically, Nishimananda Prabhu was very amazing in his contribution. He took us through a journey of what actually a youth should be, and he tells personal stories and his personal experience in working with youths, and what mentalities the youth have, basically in terms of wanting to be heard. And the youth generally wants themselves to be heard in every aspect of whatever they think. And he spoke so much a lot. I didn't know I wasn't taking notes because I was so captivated in a speech that I wasn't taking notes myself. But basically, what he shared was that the youth needs to be given opportunity to express themselves, and they need a lot of listening ears. And if that is given, that it could be a way of getting the youth to become an ideal adult themselves in the future, to inspire the younger generations that are coming behind them. And I think my contribution in the group was basically the same thing, because whatever he was saying was actually the techniques I was using. I do a lot of interactions, workings with the youths, My area of actual activities is centered around teaching in the universities and the secondary schools. I do a lot of, I have my CC with the URI is Center for Applied Spiritual Science. So I try to explain how spirituality can be applied in this day-to-day life with the technology age. And from my experience of working with these youths, I've learned one thing which is very significant, and it has been helpful, and which is to listen to the youths. The youths have observed that they just want to be listened to. And I was hearing one of the panelists that spoke some few days ago. I was impressed, I was amazed when I heard that, because that was actually what I sing as a mantra when I speak, that the way to the heart of any person is through the ears. And the way she presented in that speech that day was so amazing, because she analyzed the art, the definition, and the spelling of the word art, and then taking out the ear out of it. So I was sharing that in the group, that the best way to get across to the youth is to give a listening ear to the youth. And I think this is what we discussed in our group. And many of the participants in that group couldn't have much time to speak, because I think two of myself and Mr. Menda probably spoke a lot. So before we know it, the time was over.
If I can share about what we discussed in our group, very interestingly, our group, we were all of the same context, which is of that of humanity. So there were no adults and there were no young members in our team, you could say, because we all had something in common, which was that we were all human. We went around the group giving different words of what we think would make the youth more, in relating to the topic of the youth, what would we really need from the youth in today's society. And one very interesting thing that actually one of the trustees or the earlier speakers shared was that living in this time of the pandemic, the coronavirus doesn't really discriminate, right? Whether it'll affect an Asian versus a European, a female versus a male, or a young versus an old person. It's all just the same. So in that same way, we realize that we shouldn't really have biases and prejudices with one another, but we should come together and find out what unites us. Because as it was very well said, actually, by Patri Dasji, what we need is unity in these times, and we feel that since all the other rooms were sharing that there should be a listening opportunity, we believe that this can really be the start of something that wherein we can do a combined, we can combine our energies and our resources in coming up with more spiritual kind of using spiritual technologies in order to achieve a more harmonious world. So that was a sharing from our group.
Yes, thank you for voicing what we discussed. I was in that group too, so thank you. You summarized everything perfectly. So Sagara Swami Maharaj, do you have anything to say to conclude and to thank the participants?
Yes, we want. Sorry.
We have one more, two more raised hands.
Oh, sorry. Yes, for sure. I didn't see them. So, Patri Das, can you please say what you wanted to say?
Thank you so much. Such a wonderful diamond-like realizations everybody's sharing. Really, it is very, very inspiring. One thing only I wanted just to add to what was said. What actually can unite us, we also discussed this in our group, that's understanding that we are all spiritual souls also. Ultimately, we are coming to this world, and ultimately we have to go back to our original kingdom of the Father, right? So unless we come to the foundational principle of understanding that we are not different religions and nations and color of the body. We are all the souls. Without understanding and coming to that spiritual understanding, actually, all other methods will be okay, nice temporary solutions for the main temporary problems. But ultimate solution, if everybody will come to the spiritual platform of understanding that we are not ultimately not this only physical manifestation, we are spiritual souls. And that when we can come together and glorify Father, being grateful to him, right? As we said, if we are not grateful, we are grateful. So that's what unites all of us here, because we came interface faith in something sublime and understanding that we are all spiritual sparkles and all one family. Thank you. That's what unites everyone.
Thank you. I really like this saying of if you're not grateful, you are grateful. Bahit, you had raised your hand. Do you still want to say your
I
word?
just apologize that I have some background noise because I'm talking from the public place, traveling under there are some circumstances, but I couldn't help joining the meeting, and our small talk conversation was interrupted suddenly, and so we haven't appointed a person, but there was a very interesting young person, Vasu from Spain, and maybe he would tell something from our group. But from my side, I would like to share that in iFast we have one very interesting project, and we named it Academy for Wise People. So, and it's training program for grandmothers. So, and our students, they are learning, they are older than 50, and they are learning how to communicate with their children and grandchildren, and they get knowledge in all spheres, including spiritual. And we've just had recently we had some interim interviews, and they said that they get significant results, and they improved their relations with children. They learned a lot. That's one. That could be one of the solutions. So that's all what I wanted to say, and maybe Vasu would add something from our group.
Thank you. Vasu, do you want to add as Bahit had suggested?
Thank you very much. I would like to share with you that I feel so grateful to hear in our group. It's amazing time that we can share about our experience, and also we share about the technology can help us for improve our communication. And I feel so grateful for this amazing group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think that's all for today. If not, please correct me. Thank you everybody for coming. And Sagar Maharaj, do you have anything to conclude with?
Yeah, we really wanted to thank everyone, starting with panelists and everyone. You know, it's such an inspiration and joy to be with all of you. And we really encourage all of you who can join us tomorrow, because we are preparing something extra special. If you enjoyed the gift so far, you know, tomorrow will be something really unbelievable. I mean, these are just few points we'll be presenting to all of you. So there will be a lot of fun, and we'll have our bishop and our Charles joining us again, as well as many other leaders. So if you can, please join us tomorrow, and we'll have wonderful conclusion of our gift and sharing a lot of gifts of love and joy. Thank you.
So thank you everybody for coming, and thank you Sagar Maharaj for showing what's going to happen tomorrow. So hopefully see you everybody tomorrow, and have a nice day today, whatever time of day it is for you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Sophie, for
much.
facilitating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saraswami.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Sophie, thank you very much for that facilitation.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Veronica.
The region is proud.
Also, wonderful translation.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet everyone. And to
Thank you,
learn from
Isaac.
everyone.
It was great to see you here.